makes sense. The playmaker for Tucson, the initiator, the one he got the super flashy play, the engage onto death in Game 3 when they won in the semifinals. You ban out the Tom Kent to allow that pick to come in so early. You secure it away from King Zone. Certainly some playmaking has to come out of Tucson when you prioritize the Alistar this early.
Even though the Sion pick was confident, you can see the players taking a lot of time to decide. And again, King Zone are ignoring what got them here and going for something new. They are sticking with the Kai'Sa priority. It's going to be the Morgana support coming through from Gorilla. A lot of Gorilla's standard is taken away, and he doesn't seem to want to Braum into the side of Afreeca Freecs, so Braum falls through picks and bans a second time. Remember that Afreeca drew a Trundle ban in game number 1 after they banned Nidalee on blue side. So it'll be no surprise to see Spirit return to this pick, and of course it answers a mid lane tank as well if they are going to go one threat and have this mid lane Sion come through from BDD.
The second that Trundle got hovered, though, Gorilla had a very sneaky smirk on his face. Again, when you get into finals, you got to be careful with the pick ban. I want to see if maybe they're baiting something out with that Trundle being picked. Let's jump into bans for phase 2. Nidalee gets taken away again from Peanut after they skipped the jungle pick in the first phase, and no more Anivia for Kuro.
Nidalee is, of course, the big pick into the Trundle that can win very hard. The disengage doesn't come through from the pillar.
It's Tucson's Papa. They're on the right side. I've got a Papa. Tucson's also got a Papa that came down tonight.
Everyone's got a Papa, it turns out. So happy to be here. Also, front row center is a Jace ban is going to be drawn from the side of Afreeca Freecs. So King Zone won't be able to have Khan onto the Jace. Interesting things to remember here is that, okay, it could be a jungle attention here, but consider also that the Jace mid lane is seeming less and less likely to come out through all of this. The Gnar is banned away. You see the Anivia ban. Another reason that we see Anivia ban is Anivia does very well into one threat comps by being able to wall the tank line away and stop the DPS from doing damage when those sort of things are happening. But speaking of front lines, maybe we're going old school for Keen.
Very, very interesting. They choose the Maokai here. No Ornn. You know, we've been talking about Ornn a little bit before this cast started, how it's very safe, could see it a lot in the top lane, but Afreeca just totally skip it. Maybe the genius of the coach is seeing something with the composition of King Zone. They say, we are going to prioritize Maokai into these first 3 picks.
And now King Zone, the ruse is up. Are you going to be playing purely into one threat, which is what Afreeca seem to be assuming with this particular situation? The Anivia ban suggests that King Zone want to play heavy on tanks. We'll see what the final choice is here. They could rewrite the script, but they don't have the Jace to attack the Maokai. So how much will they play through topside? Will it be the Sion? Will it be something different? Turns out they are going to be going tanks. It is going to be all about the Kai'Sa. And the Cho'Gath priority, a pick that Khan hasn't necessarily been able to show much on. Again, King Zone showing us something different. It's going to be the mid lane Cho'Gath or the mid lane Sion. We'll wait and see. As Afreeca Freecs, they flash the Yasuo. I don't think it's Yasuo time here.
Lots of Yasuo flashing. Someone call the police. But the stadium getting really, really hyped every time it gets flashed. Don't think we're going to see it. Of course, the Rise being hovered here. Is it going to stay on the Rise? Into it. No, gets switched up right at the last second into Galio. So Galio versus Sion in the mid lane.
Could also be Cho'Gath mid lane, because Feast actually can make him pretty accountable in a 1v1 laning matchup. But given what they've played this season, you are expecting BDD to be on the mid lane. Sion, it does allow them very fast roam as well. What if the Banner of Command is going to be out early in this game as well? Super, super heavy emphasis on tanks. Super, super heavy emphasis on AD carry play. When 20 seconds rolls around, we will know if it's mid lane Sion or mid lane Cho'Gath.
We're getting very close, 2 seconds left. Let's see what they decide on. Okay, the Cho'Gath is going to stay up in the top lane. Very interesting drafts coming into this one. I wasn't expecting us to go back into the super macro-y, you know, all the tanks in the front line with some hyper carries, 1 damage threats here, but certainly has changed. Things certainly can get weird once you do get into finals. People trying to counter each other, pick bans getting strange as you go along. So I really want to see where these teams want to go with the compositions they have chosen.
Kai'Sa as a tank buster is something that can happen, but making it happen can be so tricky with her short range and the fact that she often is cheating into less than 500 range with using the supercharger. And the ability to reposition with the Killer Instinct and the invisibility when you get that evolve. Whereas Kramer can go back to the build that we criticized him for in game 1 against KT. You're going to have a lot of time to get 6 stacks, so Rage Blade into Infinity Edge is a very viable build when the tankiness on the enemy side is strong. They also have the Galio and the Global. The early game macro is what defined game 1. I think it's back once again with a vengeance in game number 2.
Certainly is. Going back to what worked. Let's see if it works here. Jumping into game number 2. Kingzone versus the Afreeca Freecs. The Afreeca cheers get louder after winning game number 1. Certainly things can be looking towards their advantage. We were not expecting Kingzone to go down in game number 1, let alone to lose a game. A lot of people predicting 3-0, but that's not going to be the case tonight. Tucson, he's already having a bit of fun. He gets back onto his good old Alistair. We're going to be looking for some big plays from him tonight.
And we've all been hitting that cowbell about Tucson's play so far in the spring season. He doesn't need gimmicks. He has been so consistent. One of our MVP leaders. I'm going to face check Keen and take a bit of damage, but it's going to be uninteractive. And Valdez, we have 7 melee champions in this game. The ranged AD carries and Morgana, who's about half a ranged champion, given how short her auto attack range is. Safe to say that the siege in this game is abysmal on both sides. Better for Afreeca, just because they can put down a pillar and there's more range on Varus. While there may be turret damage, getting to the turret without winning a team fight is looking impossible.
Yeah. It was very interesting to me to see Afreeca go into the pick ban and say, thinking about the Rise, get another damage threat on there that can certainly do well against some tanks with that sustained damage. But then they say, no, you want to go into tank versus tank with 1 damage threat? Fine, we'll go ahead with it. Galio was kind of ignored in the first game, but this time around they last pick it. Certainly one way to follow up on big fights if it does get engaged upon by Tucson and Keen. We'll see if he can effectively do that. Already taking a little bit of damage here to start things off in the mid lane, though.
So games like this usually snowball very, very hard one way or the other. When it ends up being same win condition versus same win condition, if you snowball, the enemy team doesn't really have any surprises. You know that they both want a team fight. Both these teams team fight super hard. The Trundle's in the jungle, so he's not going to be split pushing and whacking away on turrets. He's very much just going to be there for the ult in team fights. So if you start winning team fights, you put down vision, the enemy team has to face check, you kind of continue to win team fights. So this game is expected to snowball super hard, and when Kingzone have played these sort of games, they're our best early to mid-game team. They've got those advantages, they've got smart macro, and they've closed games. So on paper you say, okay, Kingzone, you're getting what you want, but it's so different this week here, seeing Kingzone go both games so heavy into the tanks, no ability for Khan to go for the side lane push. You do feel like any sort of mid-game mistakes, uncharacteristic from Kingzone in game 1, they come back here. There's very little backup ways into the game.
I think there's going to be a little bit more pressure onto Peanut to find some ganks in this one. I'm going to hold my thought. The big engage down here, level 3 to level 2. Gorilla does get the Black Shield down, but so much damage coming out here. Can they get that last couple auto attacks? No. Gorilla going to save both of his summoners as well. Just walks away from that one.
Black Shield timing there was a little bit late, but of course, Morgana may have the ability to not be CC'd. Well, that tankier champion, so can just be DPS down by the Varus. A very nice trade in the lane that time from Afreeca. Was Kingzone making those good trades in game number 1. No big surprises on the side of the runes. Aftershock mid lane from Kuro. We all know he's going to be going AP. We don't see tank mid lane Galio anymore. First weeks of the season, but not since then. But it's just such a different look from Kingzone, because if you look at their stats, the one stat that I always draw my attention to is a pretty complicated one. It's the amount of CS the AD carry picks up after 15 minutes. So after the early laning phase where everyone's farming, how much CS does the AD carry get? And we have Teddy in our league that takes 1/3 of his team's CS. We have Reckless over in EU, a hard carry AD carry known for 5-6 items. He gets to 36% of the team's gold. Prey takes the least gold of any AD carry in the world in a major region because he plays Ezreal and groups. He plays Caitlyn, gets his Shiv and BF sword, and groups for objectives. They put all the gold into the top lane because Khan's running around on Jace or Trundle or something to play for lane. Instead, they're ignoring that game plan, their standard game plan, putting everything into Prey being the hard carry. Can he play that way? Yes. Do they usually play that way? Have they got to the final playing that way? No.
Certainly true. Prey. That Black Shield was down for just a little bit. The Pillar's going to come in. They want another one, but the lockdown is going to come in onto Tucson. Very nice response there from Gorilla to make sure that Tucson could not engage after the Pillar comes down.
The flash being used from Prey, the bigger thing. If you are Kai'Sa in lane against Varus and your flash is down, oh boy, Tucson has a fun time. So really do not want to give up a summoner spell there. The first Aegis of the game doesn't go to Kuro. It's actually going to be coming through. First item this time for BDD. These Banner of Command timings getting a little bit ridiculous, Valdez.
The faster you can get to them, the better. It's a very strong item. Aegis gives you those defensive stats in the lane, makes you basically unkillable against your lane opponent. And then you get Banner of Command against the Galio, who does a lot of magic damage. It's going to be hard to stop that.
Galio, Maokai, Varus is mostly magic damage as well, unless it's going to be IE second item coming through from Kramer. And that also means that when both of them drift bot lane, bit cooler drifting from the Scion, but both of them can go bot lane very easily. The Banner of Command DPSs down the enemy turret when the roam comes in, so it makes the roam timing a little bit earlier for BDD, who needs the help compared to the hero's entrance. So early Banner of Command is definitely going to be something to watch. We saw Alistair on the back of mid lane go for a bit of a walk.
He goes for a bit of a walk, but that ward lane, or the lane ward rather, from BDD spots Spirit, so they know exactly where he is on another ward actually. So they're thinking about an engage onto him. Peanut's still level 5, and you got a level 6 Galio right next to him, but they're trying to line up this stun. Nice ward there from Spirit, reads it. BDD leaves the lane, they see him go there, they're like, okay, not gonna go into that river.
As a veteran play, very, very safe ward. They probably had the ping out of the deep ward a minute earlier. He had a pretty good idea there would be vision down, and just goes for the most shallow ward possible. In a tank versus tank game, that's one of the most hype moments we've had in the first 6 minutes, sadly, guys. So yeah, that's definitely the one you need to react to, because otherwise, well, we have like versus like everywhere with our first and second team in the regular season. So interactive gameplay, that's at a bit of a premium.
Yeah. I mean, shout outs to Spirit to be able to be in that mindset, to know what's going on. Seems like he's had a pretty good series so far. He's been mirroring Peanut very, very well so far. Could really do a nice job in this game by mirroring him as well. The second that Sejuani wants to engage, you could just drop a pillar down and stop the engage from happening. But so far, they've just been avoiding each other. Trying to engage now onto Khan, but there is a ward to spot out Spirit here. So that does get stopped in the end.
Teamfight execution in an even game is going to be really fun to track. These teamfights will be extended because everyone's tanky. Both teams have a secret weapon against big tank lines. Easiest one to see, Trundle. He ults the tank, he takes his resists. Varus tries to DPS him down. 5v4 with very similar team comps, you probably win. Very simple one there on the jungle Trundle. The one on Kingzone is the one also we talk about all the time with Cho'Gath, is that Cho'Gath's face does a great amount of true damage. You feast down the frontliner that's in the face of your AD carry. He's suddenly at half health, whatever resists and tankiness he has, and then you take him down. So the fight should snowball very hard. Both of them have a tool to win in a very heavy tank lineup on both sides. That means if you both have similar tools, it's a lot going to be about execution. It's all going to be about wards. And also the snowball here. The vision line was the big winner, making Skarner so accountable in game 1. Great job by Afreeca Freecs in that regard. Right now, as you'd expect at 8 minutes, very neutral in game number 2.
Yeah. The only real big stat that we're seeing in terms of CS is that the mid lane going heavily towards BDD, but also Peanut about I think 4 camps, 5 camps ahead right now onto Spirit, so doing a nice job of getting ahead. Sejuani's jungle clear is famously very fast and also has all that CC, very tanky, part of the reason why she's so high tier, and so doing a good job there as well.
Really surprising. Spirit's gone Tiamat Rush. We don't see this really in high-level play. You don't see the Titanic Hydra jungle Trundles much anymore, so he's actually gone power farming because he's been putting together his items a little bit later. Only now we'll be able to clear the camps as fast as possible. Just Cinderhawk into pure tank is usually the choice, but I guess when we got bruises everywhere and with the extra tank compared to the Morgana support, we will actually see the Tiamat come through from the Trundle.
Certainly helps out. Oh, a bit of an engage here as Gorilla wants to get on top of Tushin. Just gonna pop that ult. Gorilla gonna be ignited here. Has to be so careful. There's the blast. Does miss the stun though, but now that leaves Prey in a little bit of trouble in the end. Looks like Afreeca will win the trade. Trying to do that extra damage on the backside. Prey gonna eat that piercing arrow, but does not die in the end. Afreeca getting a nice trade in the 2v2.
A lot of mind games between the AD carries. A bit of false bravado being shown by Prey in the end. He's very, very low. They're staying in lane, which is already suspicious for the side of Afreeca. We know that Peanut's bot lane.
Yeah. You notice that Spirit already heading down into the bottom lane, but they're just going to respect it, go ahead and get it back. Worried about Kramer, though. He's staying here all by himself. You got to be careful. Flash up on Peanut once that engage. Trying to read the flash here. Can he do it? Wants to get the first stun. There's the flash, but the engage comes in from Kai'Sa. First blood from Peanut. He is going to lock it down. Kramer, bit of a mistake staying way too long in that lane. Will give up the first blood.
Even though they knew about it, even though they suspected it, I'm sure it was pinged out by Tushin as he backed. They took the risk anyway. Peanut hits everything, and Trundle, even with the early invade and the early rotation, couldn't be there fast enough. Big kill for the side of Kingzone. First blood in this game could snowball so much as Spirit just wants to interrupt the backs.
Certainly is going to be so important. You want to be proactive when you're getting two similar compositions, just like you were talking about before. Whoever gets the advantage and gets ahead is going to be very happy in this type of game. Let's take a look at the replay.
Prey knows that there's the ability to go in here, and Peanut waits his moment. We know with Alistair gone, Kramer had a very heavy expectation that Peanut would be there. Peanut doesn't blow the ultimate until it's guaranteed. The flash timing from Kramer is actually really woeful. He had a lot of options there. Yeah. He tried to play the mind game. It doesn't work, and the Trundle not in position means the kill does go the way of Kingzone.
Yeah, he waited until he had 4 stacks on the Sejuani, and at that point, it's range. So what are you really going to do? Nice dodge there. The creep doing some help. Kuro trying to get out of this one. Doesn't have the mana. Is going to be locked down, but has the stopwatch there to help out. Tushin also getting locked down here, funnily enough. He's going to have to blow his ult. Does have it in the end. Was questioning that. Kuro trying to bait them in now. Here comes Spirit to help out. Stun going to come in from Peanut, but no more kills will go down in the end.
The Morgana gank actually roams through mid lane, and the Black Shield trivializes how strong the disengage usually is from the taunt coming through from Galio. In all of this, Prey has got a huge lead in items. It's most of a Rage Blade compared to the completed Rage Blade on patch 8.6 before the extra gold is required to complete it. Aris does finish it now, but a bit of extra laning time for the Kai'Sa. A nice roam comes through and gets some summoners. Kingzone get the sort of lead they were looking for in game number 1, this time in game number 2.
Yeah, certainly is going to have the lead in that lane after the beginning of this game. The lead in the game going over to Kingzone. Already about 1,000 gold up just in the CS and the first blood advantage that they do have. Another great Drake starting this one off, the Infernal. Peanut returning to the bottom lane. Wants to get that flashless Kramer if they can. Would be an easy turret. Dragon, some objective will go to Kingzone, and they would win in the early game.
Usually Tushin is all substance over style, but then he just actually Hex Flash to get the auto attack in to give the minion gold over to his AD carry. That one was style over substance. This early game, a lot stronger for the side of Kingzone. We already mentioned in Champion Select, when you have very like-for-like comps where the siege is so woeful on both sides, it needs to be about the team fight. When you get early kills, you should also get a vision lead. You should also start fights when you want them. And that means that Kingzone have this sort of ability to run the game that was never available to them in game number 1.
Khan getting aggressive here, trying to steal some Raptors. We talk about min-maxing. Is he going to go down here, though? Very, very tanky. There's the stun into the Maokai ultimate. The pillar eventually going to come down. Forces that flash in, but the flash now from Spirit trying to do that damage. He's losing tankiness. Down he goes. Now the Galio going to follow up onto BDD. Looks like they're not going to bite off more than they can chew. Here comes Gorilla with the first roam. Also has Prey. This is about to turn into a 4v3. And now getting stunned up is Crow. Launching in is Prey. That is going to be a dead Galio. In the end, kill goes to Gorilla, and now they will have the advantage in the mid lane push.
May have to trade mid lane top for bot lane top, but you take that any day of the week, making the Galio accountable. The ability to use the killer instinct off of your melee champions and also hard CC to come in so big in that regard, as Prey could actually close and do damage. You will always have a roam advantage as the Kai'Sa over the Varus. They're going to back away and try and take a Drake here, you would imagine as well, an Infernal Firstborn for KingZone.
Afreeca looking proactive in game one. This time, KingZone getting the early lead and being very proactive. The early roam from Prey and Gorilla, getting there before Tucson and Kramer, right in the front. Able to follow up, get the mid lane, first blood turret, and then the Infernal Drake. KingZone, very strong early game after the way they played things. Looking good in game number 2.
It's pretty much the converse of game number 1, where they didn't have control of bot lane, didn't have first rotation. We mentioned this is World of Tanks, and in World of Tanks, in League of Legends, I guess this time, what we're watching here is 3 is better than 2. There is no damage between the 3, but they make Khan accountable. They take him out. They also have the Galio ultimate, but Varus stays in bot lane. The roam comes through, and the Kai'Sa's the big reason they can win this fight. You notice the plasma is applied by the teammates before Kai'Sa can get there. She can gap close. She has the Rage Blade. They get the answering kill and the first brick in the mid lane.
Right on top there, you notice that Afreeca, they knew they were in trouble. It was called out on the comms. Hey, Prey and Gorilla are coming into the mid lane. You need to back right now. But there was just no escape. Peanut perfectly done denying the back. So many stuns, so many CCs out of that Sejuani, really working to help create those kills. And there they go from there. So where does KingZone go from here with their lead? Looking into the bottom side once again. All the summoners are going to be up, so it's going to be hard to really get this 2v2 kill, but I guarantee the junglers are going to show their face in the bottom lane once again.
A defensive vision bot side as well as mid lane. They're just going to try and straight up gank mid.
Okay, we got Khan in here as well, and Kuro going to be knocked up. Not much that he can do. Should have a feast coming on in, and there's just no escape for him. Tries to Hero's exit out of this one, but cannot do that. Down he does go.
Pretty bizarre use of the ultimate. He might have got the call that the feast was on cooldown from Khan, but regardless, was never going to make it away from that one. And now an important playmaking tool is used. That's like using your Shen ultimate when you're going to die and getting no value from the reposition either. KingZone have control of bot lane. Bit of a mistake from Kuro, and now they can make this play work as Kuro, 10 seconds till he can TP.
Spirit in position this time around is going to deny another gank coming out of Peanut, who has just been camping. He set up a tent down here on the bottom side saying, well, it's going to be hard to gank the Galio, certainly going to be hard to get on top of Maokai. Might as well go where I can get some effective ganks onto a Varus that doesn't have the help of Tahm Kench in game 2.
Mid lane priority into the bot lane room is available. 3 control wards are there for the Scion to drift bot lane and try to potentially make some plays. They just straight up ganked mid, as we saw. Free roam coming through for the Cho'Gath. If you got more tanks on the screen at this point in the game, especially if the damage dealers aren't there, you're going to win out, Valdez. And so far, the first rotations that were Afreeca's in game 1 are KingZone's in game number 2.
Banners of command all finished up here. It's banner versus banner in the mid lane. Just a slight edge in terms of 20 CS. Still available here for BDD, but in the top lane, Keen once again getting a bit of advantage up there. Doesn't do the same amount of roaming that Khan does as well, so has that advantage up there in CS.
And I want to draw your attention to the items. There's still 1 minion dematerializer available from Kuro, who just used one on screen, and still 4 available from Tucson. So when it comes to answering bannons or just banner of command minions, they do have those items right now to answer some of the pressure from KingZone, especially relevant when KingZone are ahead.
Peanut coming in here, just going to take away a blue buff once again. The Blues have been trading sides. Tucson still has everything available, but he's trying to stick around and call the help of his teammates. You'll notice that Kuro trying to lean here. The ultimate going to be forced to be blown, but so much damage still coming out. He cannot live in the end, even through the ultimate. Kuro comes in with the TP, but not there in time. And now with Tucson down, looks like KingZone going to continue the push in the bot lane.
Isolated damage, press the attack bot lane, and Binding does hit onto Kuro, but he'll back away.
Oh, there's the charge on in, and Spirit just runs into it. No surviving for him. No way to get out of that one. You notice that Kuro is trying to save the turret, but now with this taunt down, they're going to be getting onto him. Everything going wrong for Afreeca. Kingzone rolling through them right now. It takes so long for the Galio to die, but they finally do it in the end. Prey going to secure another kill off the back of that turret.
And this was the sort of performance they were looking for with their Game 1 draft. Couldn't happen. They reassess, they go back to something that has worked, which is BDD on this mid lane Sion, and they don't need Kog'Maw anymore. The Kai'Sa is making mincemeat out of the front line. Kramer doesn't have enough damage yet to actually get going and even get Rageblade stacks to get zoned out on the back end. Kingzone this time have the priority, and Kingzone are ruling the mid game of game number 2.
So you think, hey, I'm an Alistar, I got my ultimate, I should survive, but it's just enough damage that comes out of the 4 of them. It's 4 members, and you're not even level 11 yet. You got to be careful with that. Gets killed under turret, and then the rest of Afreeca stay.
Valio pressed the attack pretty high in this particular game because he will be able to apply it to so many members. The Hurricane probably going to come out as well. And then, honestly, Spirit thinks he's sidestepping this Trundle, isn't. And that was very, very poor on the back end to snowball even further forward Kingzone DragonX.
It's just one unfortunate play into another. Kingzone saying, this is our turret, give it to us. And Afreeca say no, and unfortunately, that was the wrong answer. In that certain situation, they had to give that one up. And unfortunately for them, it does mean more kills. So only 20 minutes into the game, Kingzone this time. This is the Kingzone we were expecting to see in game number 1, expecting to see in the series, showing up to play in game 2.
And if the Black Shield timing is on and they're able to disengage Maokai or Alistar CC, this Hurricane Rageblade is going to murder the front line of Afreeca. If he has free time to auto, there is nothing Afreeca can do. And the Black Shield can have so much value here. Going to take down the Drake themselves. Rageblade's a pretty cool item on the Kai'Sa, it turns out. Yep. Take down very easily. We'll soon have the second evolve coming through. Right now, isn't going to be focusing on Q evolve. Usually that's what we see. Essence Reaver into Rageblade is largely because Essence Reaver plus the pickaxe is the 100 AD. But no sign of 100 AD yet for Prey.
Yeah, just waiting on that. Gonna rely on her auto attacks and overall team fight damage instead of that Q damage. See what he can do. Definitely ahead in the items, sitting at 2-0-3 compared to Kramer. Look at what he picks up next. Executioner calling. He's saying, okay, no healing for anyone on the side. None of those tanks gonna get any healing from the side of Afreeca.
There's a lot of sustain on Afreeca. Maokai and Trundle built into their kits. The Alistar situationally as well. It's also a snowball purchase. He feels really good about it. And honestly, maybe it's time to amp up the Grievous Wounds, go into the armor penetration, get that last Whisper into the evolution here. The Mortal Reminder certainly wouldn't go amiss against all of these tanks. It up, Prey well ahead in this game. This time Kingzone are pushing forward, and Spirit is the one who's going to be a little bit more ambiguous. We have this crawl here from Spo TV, just seeing the item timings a minute plus earlier at basically every juncture for Prey.
Certainly, Kingzone have the lead, and they're looking to push it from objective to objective. Afreeca too far behind, gonna have to give up another outer turret here. Just gonna fall from the rotation of Kingzone, getting 4 members up there. Sion, of course, did have his TP available if they did need it. And what is next? We saw Afreeca with their lead on the blue side. They were able to get the Baron at about 25 minutes with a bit of a rush and their gold lead. They had the composition to do it with 4 tanks on the side of Kingzone. It's going to be a bit harder to do that. They do have the Kai'Sa, of course, for some of that damage, and a Mountain Drake. We'll see where they go in terms of getting that Baron.
Of any one champion, I would say Kai'Sa is the one who does the most damage to Baron in this game, so that's already a one thing. They also have excellent Baron secure because they have the Smite and the Feast available. Also, when it comes to Baron teams, we also like to talk about the turn from the Baron. Basically, when they stop Baron, they have immense turn, immense secure, and the speed is average. It's still an S-tier Baron team once they get that vision forward into the red side jungle of Afreeca.
Yeah. Infernal into Mountain into another Infernal certainly will also help out in terms of getting that damage down.
Bit weird to see that the investment here from Kramer, second item, is not the Infinity Edge. He wants to get as much power earlier He's able to get an earlier item completion, but it's not into the Infinity Edge. It's going to need to puncture through the front line. It's the much safer choice of the Rapid Fire Cannon. Rapid Fire Auto isn't going to be chunking anyone on the side of Kingzone, and the chunks from Prey are already massive.
Running into no vision, Tucson had to be the one to throw down the wards. Pillar this time to help out with that, but Kingzone already getting to work, denying all of these wards in the red side jungle already.
And Kingzone already know where their bread is buttered. It's Mikhail's and the Black Shield from Morgana. They know that if they're not able to tussle into the Kai'Sa instantly, Prey will win the fight.
Ultimate's coming in. They're going to engage here. Keen and Spirit trying to get in, and no escape for Keen as he gets chopped down by the Cho'Gath. The Q not going to land there from Gorilla, but they get a very important member in that top Maokai.
With that Mikhail's and Black Shield, there is no ability for Afreeca to put down wards because the collapse will come down instantly. They cannot lock down Prey, and Prey will kill them. It's time for a second kill.
It's got to be someone to face check. This time it's Tucson again. Has to blow his ultimate and his flash to get away from this one. And now what do? Still no vision, and still Kingzone saying, let's bait it again, we might as well.
And there's almost no cooldown this, they can do it again and again. Here we go.
Spirit gonna be the one this time, the Subjugate coming in, but it's not really gonna help him. Too much damage coming out from 4 members. Getting a look at this side lane fight, of course, but again and again and again, Kingzone biting off piece by piece from Afreeca.
And you know, Kingzone going to give you promotion, S+ tier Baron comp. There is no counterplay, there's nothing you can do. If you face check, you die. There is no cooldown on their ability to turn. Pick into Baron. Nicely done by Kingzone. The Baron damage is going to take a while because the Cho'Gath's going to feast it eventually. Kingzone get the Baron. How about a red buff as well?
Min-maxing to the max. Coming in here saying, you don't need my damage. Let me go ahead and steal the red buff. They saw that coming. And so they do take that one away. Now what do? You got an 0-1 Varus, who is slowly working towards that Infinity Edge, but can't come soon enough as Kingzone beginning to run away with this one.
Well, let's return to our expectations. The comp does the same thing. They both can only team fight. There is no real range in the game short of one Varus auto attack to siege a turret, and they have a lot of engage to respect. So you team fight and lose, honestly. It's time for the honorable loss here, it feels like, for Afreeca. The gold lead is massive. The Baron is there. It needs Kingzone to make a big mistake for Afreeca to really outplay them, unless Morgana is curiously nowhere near the Kai'Sa.
Yep. Gorilla's going to be right on top of Prey the entire game, and you'll notice that we've been saying, 4 tanks on the side of Afreeca, but Kuro mixing up the build after the Banner of Command goes in Throughout of Ages into a Fiendish Codex. I guess they feel like they need a little bit more damage to burst through all of the help that Prey is going to get. If you can get 1 Q onto the Kai'Sa, if she's out of position, maybe you could come back in a team fight.
And the stall is actually there because, remember, there is a Baron buff, but they don't feel strong enough to turret dive. They have to respect the Galio. If Galio ult's on cooldown, maybe you play around with dives, but with the ability to answer Banon minions so easily, still 3 stacks of the minion dematerializer, actually growing the lead in terms of structures. Oh boy, team fights, Kingzone's ready to go. Getting Afreeca to show up to a team fight, that's the tricky part.
Yeah. Well, Khan just ignoring Keen. This is eventually what happens when you got a Cho'Gath that's ahead. They don't necessarily need the siege for the outer turrets. Kramer goes back home. He needed more items to help out with this clear. And unfortunately, that means they are going to lose 2 turrets at the end of the day.
That was a beautiful timing on the Black Shield as the animation started from the Varus. Very nice there from Gorilla. Not normally something you compliment, but that was on point.
Nicely done. These guys have immense focus now that we are in the finals. I'm sure Kingzone kicking themselves for that game 1 loss. Trying to come back in this one. Damage going down onto Tucson. He has to blow his ultimate again. He is out of position. There is way too much CC. You cannot be out of position. Trying to get that engaged from behind, but he gets punished for it.
So much damage on Prey, 2 levels above Kramer. Superior damage build, a superior Shredder because no one can come over. He's basically Super Shredder. 5 people in the chat know that reference. Gonna be the mid lane inhibitor going down, BDD in the top lane, Afreeca's base in tatters.
This is the Kingzone we expected to show up in game number 1. A little bit of a hiccup in game number 1, but they come out here in game 2 and they say we are the better team. Peanut having a much better performance, an MVP performance, getting into that bot lane, setting up so many ganks onto Kramer. Some mistakes from Afreeca as well, maybe getting a little bit overconfident after their win. We'll see if they can hold off the push. Not looking likely. Keen taking a damage, but in the back line, we do have Prey taking it. They are going to go onto Gorilla, actually, not Prey. He's on the right side doing that damage. Khan getting low, though. Kramer having a lot of room to do the damage. There's the pillar onto the Cho'Gath, but it's not enough. Finally, they take him out. The engage from Tushin. He gets onto him, but Prey dodging everything on the right side. Does he have enough damage to take everyone out, though? He is going to get locked down, and Kramer finally,
still going.
Not enough. Prey is going to survive. The pillar not going to help him. A triple kill, a quadra kill almost comes in. It's a double for the Sejuani. Peanut takes it, and Prey, in the end of it, a very close fight, especially with the huge lead Kingzone had, and they finally win it. They're going to win the game as well.
That's why they priority pick the Kaisei, skips around, nothing that can be done. He falls low, but they keep the trust in Prey. Why not? The name of the Cogmocont, the Juggermore, was invented for Prey. Maybe the Jugger Kai'Sa is here to play.
Kingzone do it in about 30 minutes there, taking game number 2, saying we want to take